So today I was watching a video by ilmango, and he was showcasing a new feature in the 1.13 update, which I never, ever expected to see in Minecraft. This is the sort of thing that I create as a fake feature for April Fools, but it seems to actually be in the game. Leaves can now transmit redstone signals. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Now, if you want all the details on how this works, how it interacts with redstone, and all of the different game mechanics involved, then I'll leave a link to ilmango's video down in the description because it's incredibly interesting. But today, we're just going to be having fun, and we're going to be trying our best to create redstone contraptions made entirely out of leaves. Now, I guess the only thing that I'm slightly disappointed by is the fact that different leaf blocks, they still interact with one another. Because I was thinking how cool it would be if we could have individual lines of leaves, all of which transmitting different redstone signals. Anyway, aside from that, the first thing that I want to create is just a simple double piston extender so that I can get to grips with how these redstone mechanics work. So I'm thinking if we place in an observer facing downwards and then an observer facing in this direction, then that should do it. So we kind of alternate them. Yeah, I totally haven't ended up doing that. Instead, I've created a slightly more flat design. And if we flick this lever here, you can see that our block gets retracted and everything gets extended. I mean, this is an incredibly fast double piston extender. And as you can see, for the most part, it's all made out of leaves. The only redstone components that we really have are the observers that are detecting the updates from leaves themselves. I can't wait to actually use this without joking around inside a redstone contraption. It's going to be great. Now, I'm very interested to know why this, when we place it, just gives off a 1-tick pulse, but when we remove it, it gives off 2 ticks. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Despite this, it does make quite a good redstone clock, and it also makes quite a good disco lighting system. I used to absolutely love these. In fact, it was one of my first popular redstone videos. So it's nice to see that we're still creating innovative ways to make them. Now, this one is definitely going to be interesting. A spiral door. So I'm thinking, because each one of these leaf blocks represents a 1 game tick delay, I think we could probably go up like this. And then I suppose this one, yeah, we could do that and then grab ourselves a regular piston, so that would go across like that. That would kind of be our first part of the system, and then we'd probably have to have some form of piston up here, which is going to be moving logs around so that we can update the next set. But this is going to be cool. And also incredibly challenging. There were a number of things that I ran into that means that this was a lot more difficult than I was expecting, but as you can see, we sort of have ourselves a bit of a spiral. Now, there's a break between each one of the spiral sections, and for the life of me, I couldn't work out how to do it. I couldn't work out how to make it a perfect spiral, unfortunately, just because of the way that things update, and that little thing that I mentioned earlier on, with the double firing of the pulse when you remove the block, it means that we ran into a large number of problems when it came to creating the redstone circuitry. But I have to say, I mean, in this sort of style, if you're building like a jungly base, it actually might be worth replacing your redstone with leaves, because for the most part, you could get away with that just being freestanding in your world. Like, there's leaf blocks around. If you've got jungly things going on, there's no obvious redstone particularly. It looks really good. Like, it seriously does look cool. And it works quite nicely. But yeah, I've just been looking back at my double piston extender because I was trying to work out why it didn't do it on that one, and it turns out it does. I just never really noticed it. So the whole 2 leaf is really strange. There are some real odd quirks in this. Like, for example, if you use traditional buds as opposed to using observers, if you have a line of leaves this long, so I guess that is, yeah, that's 6 blocks long, you can see that the bud works absolutely fine. But if it's less than, I think, 5 blocks, then it spits out its block. Yeah, and you can't get it back. And I guess that's to do with the double updating. Yeah, that explains it. So I've just been watching ilmango's video because I remembered that he created a really cool disco lighting system using something that looks a little bit like this. And I was trying to work out why he wasn't running into the double pulse thing, but it turns out he actually is. He's just made it so that the double pulse runs throughout the entire system. So instead of having only this one be affected by a double pulse, these bud switches essentially create a double pulse themselves. If we just run pistons along like this, you can see that all of the pistons fire twice. They do it incredibly quickly, but they'll fire in twice. But you can't really see that in the redstone lamps due to the delay in the redstone lamps. So that just leaves us with a really cool looking disco lighting system, let's be honest. Anyway, aside from my complaints, this opens up a number of possibilities, and one of them, which isn't necessarily technical, but is good for the builders out there, is the fact that we now actually have a way that you can run nice looking redstone wires through walls. So normally you'd have to use either redstone torches or you'd have to use observers. Now we can literally have leaf blocks. There's no funny business going on here. We can use leaf blocks to transmit redstone signals outwards. That's a bonus. But for those of you who don't care about the pretty stuff and only care about the technical elements, these things really are game changing, because instead of having a 1 redstone tick delay, the leaf blocks have a 1 game tick delay, so it's a half redstone tick, which means that they really are useful for technical builds. Anyway, that's enough of the serious stuff. Now let's take a look at something a little bit more daft, and also potentially a little bit more evil. What we've got here is a bunch of leaves. On the inside we've got ourselves a chest, which I'm guessing has some form of treasure on the inside. But here's the thing. Any block that you break in this is actually going to trigger some redstone underneath. So you can see if we break that leaf block, that will cause an update. That will. This one will. This one down here obviously will. I mean, you guys get the picture. Every single block that you move will cause an update through the system, including this one in the center, which is directly above the chest. So there we've got ourselves a redstone lamp. If we remove this, then that redstone lamp switches on. So this is kind of like a tamper-proof bomb. If a player tries to get into this thing, whatever they do, it's gonna set off something. I'm assuming TNT. I know what you guys are like. And as an added bonus, I've just made it a little bit smaller and also a little bit more deadly, because the central block now activates the same circuitry as breaking any of the leaf blocks does. And the way that I've done it is I've got an observer facing downwards there underneath the central wood block, and then we've got ourselves a sticky piston with a redstone block underneath our chest pointing downwards, so it activates that redstone. I think one of the most useful things about this feature is that you can create oddly timed redstone clocks. Like, this is a 5 game tick redstone clock, and then if we add another observer into the mix, it then becomes a 7 game tick redstone clock, which is the equivalent of 6.5 redstone ticks, which is, I think, quite handy. Oh, now that's pretty cool. You can use the leaf blocks to create a 0 tick pulse. I don't think this is any more useful than a standard regular 0 tick pulse generator, but it could come in handy if you're running redstone lines across leaves anyway and you want a 0 tick pulse. You could just take this out from the side. Oh boy, that's cool. Are they still 0 ticks? I can't tell if that's a 0 tick or not. I mean, if that is the case, then we can create some ridiculous piston feed tapes right there. I mean, can you imagine how fast those piston feed tapes would be? I can't tell. I believe they are, because if we take a 1 tick pulse into a piston, you can see that even though that piston got powered, it couldn't push it across because the piston arm was still there. Whereas if we take a look at this example, I've got these set up with blocks. If we remove this wood block, you can see that it works, which means in theory we can create a ridiculously fast piston feed tape. So I've created quite a bulky looking system here, but if we flick this lever, I mean, that's showing signs of promise. That is definitely showing signs of promise here. And if we get all of the blocks inside, we're about to find out if it actually functions. So here goes. It does. And that's really fast. That is a fast piston feed tape right there. And it's very satisfying to watch. I wonder if we can make it any quicker. Well, I guess it's worth a try. I can't tell if that's faster or not. I feel like it's firing sometimes. It's making my eyes go funny, I can't watch it. Okay, having watched it back, that definitely slowed things down. My brain was going funny there. So I tried my best to add in another tick of delay on the redstone clock, but of course that means that it's now slower than the 7 tick redstone clock game tick, the 7 game tick redstone clock that we had before, because this is now an 8 game tick redstone clock. So our original design was the fastest and maybe the fastest it can be, because the pistons seem to be getting in the way of themselves. I feel like this is a good time to mention that I am not much of a technical Minecraft player. I enjoy Redstone, but I don't really delve deep into the really technical aspects of Minecraft Redstone, so I think I'm going to leave that to the professionals. This was just me experimenting and playing around with the new features and seeing what I could create, and I'm really impressed. I think this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see all of the things that come out of the technical side of the community with these new mechanics, because I know they're extremely excited about it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed this little video. If you did, please hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.